Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third program in our series on the ForeFlight EFB. We got a couple of quick housekeeping items to take care of before we get into tonight's show, so let's get started. First thing is going to be wings credit. If you're new to our program here, the wings credit for the FAA Wings Pilot Proficiency Program will be granted automatically within a day or so based on the email that you signed up with to watch the program. If you're watching a recording of this on some other day or time, Brian's got some more news, more complete information on that in just a little bit. But the short answer is future recordings you'll be able to watch on socialflight.com on the website there. And there's a program there to receive your wings credit automatically. So stand by for more news on that. It's a good idea, if this is your first time here, we have two previously recorded programs, and each episode is going to build on stuff that we covered in previous programs. So we're going to pause the show right now. If you haven't had a chance to watch those two, go and watch those and then come back, and we'll wait for you. No, not really. So each one will build on previous work. It's not mandatory, strictly speaking. You're welcome to watch this one, but we would encourage you to go back and watch the previous ones, and they'll cover some material that might come up in your mind as we progress tonight. Once again, tonight we're going to use the Q&A to monitor questions for Brian and for the crew here. So if you got a question regarding the presentation itself, some way to do something in ForeFlight or some other EFB, post that in the Q&A and we'll take care of it. If it's just an interesting comment you want to share amongst yourselves, use the chat for that. And there's just so many people, so much traffic, we're not going to be able to watch that in real time tonight, but we will keep an eye on the Q&A, so use that. And speaking of the chat, one of the common comments we get is that, especially if you're watching on an iPad or a tablet device, when chat messages come in, it can be very distracting to the program. A box pops up and covers the screen while that chat is going on. The way you can fix that, on an iPad at least, on the upper right-hand corner of the Zoom app, there's going to be three little buttons there. If you tap those buttons, a menu will pop up and you'll see the word chat. If you tap on that chat, a chat menu is going to show up. And in the upper right corner of that menu, you're going to see a bell-shaped icon. If that is a normal looking bell shape, it'll be blue. That means your chat notifications are turned on. And all you have to do is just tap that and it should change to an icon with a slash through it. And when you see that slash, that means notifications are turned off and you won't be bothered by future notes on that. Brian, I know, is going to talk more about the various subscription plans. Another common complaint we get is both Brian and I have the performance level of subscription, which is the highest tier, and it has all the features. A lot of times we're going to have to cover a basic or a pro level feature that's not available in those lower subscription levels. And yeah, it's a problem. And Brian's going to talk about that. I know he's got a Q&A on that. And each of these, we started out pretty basic in episode 1, and we're working gradually more and more advanced as we proceed. So be ready for that. If there's something that we're covering tonight that maybe is a little foggy or something, you can always go back and watch a previous episode for a reminder on how that stuff works. Now, each workshop also is going to include both VFR and IFR topics. So if you are not instrument rated, you can just step out for a cup of coffee during that IFR portion of it. And if you are IFR, you fly only IFR, well, most of us GA pilots are flying mostly VFR. So just maybe refresh your memory on how to do VFR flying. So tonight's topic is going to be planning a VFR, mostly VFR flight. I think he's going to touch just a little bit on IFR later on. So Brian is a captain for a major airline, flies the Airbus A320, and has been flying for a very long time, is expert in ForeFlight and all its features. And he tells me he's got kind of an interesting destination in mind for us tonight. So Brian, why don't you come in and join the room here? What do you got for us?
Hey, Mike, how you doing? Mike has a lot of great qualifications in his own right as well. Master CFI, which I've never had the wherewithal to go apply for that. But one of these days I'm going to do that. But anyway, Mike, thanks for everything you're doing. It's great. I think this month, since we've got a small aviation event going on later on in the month, I thought we'd talk about planning a flight to Oshkosh or going to AirVenture. Since there may be some people out there who watching this or are going, it's easy for us to get into, yeah, you're flying there too, aren't you, Mike?
Yep.
Awesome.
I'm not going to fly into Oshkosh this time. We're going to fly into Appleton, but we'll talk about that a little bit later too.
Good. And I don't want us talking by ourselves either, because I want to bring on my good friend Bob Mader. He's Chairman Emeritus of NAFI, and I want to bring him too, because I know that he's going to be at AirVenture. We can talk about that. Hey, Bob, how are you doing?
Not bad for an old gray-haired guy. How you doing?
Join the club.
Good deal. Yeah, I have to dye in the gray hair. It makes my passengers feel a lot more comfortable about flying with me. If the hair is dark, they're just like, hey, are you old enough to do this? So you know how it is.
There you go.
Right. So you're going to AirVenture too, aren't you, Bob?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. I don't want us to go down a rabbit hole, because we're going to do that. And when the three of us were discussing this beforehand, we really had to try hard not to go down a rabbit hole of how to fly to Oshkosh. That's not what tonight's about. I want to use that as a scenario to talk about ForeFlight. That's why you're here. And if we start going down that rabbit hole, just start pinging us with all caps on the chat or something and say, hey, let's get back to ForeFlight.
Yeah, now most of us aren't going to Oshkosh, so don't tell me how to do it if I'm not going.
Right.
But it does bring up a whole host of interesting problems, situations that you have to figure out how to deal with, no matter where your flight is. So it just happens to be a convenient flight this month, huh?
Yeah, so I figured it's timely. Why not go there? I was trying to figure out, okay, where should we plan one today? And I was just going to see, put my finger on the map and go, oh, we'll go here. But I thought, why not Oshkosh? And I thought we'd do it from the east, because it's really easy approaching from the west. There are some challenges coming from, say, Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we'll try to plan it from Grand Rapids to Oshkosh. If you want to start looking at your iPad and playing with that while you're watching this, we'll start diving into that as well. So
yeah, I spent a week there one night.
Yeah, in Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids.
Yeah, I had a great time. I love Grand Rapids, for anybody on here who's from there. Any event, if you guys are ready, we'll dive in.
I don't know why not.
All right,
let's do it.
First of all, I'd like to, and anytime I told Mike and Bob, if there's more they can add, jump in, interrupt me. Those guys have a lot of experience as well, and if they see good questions and a lot of the same question popping in, then that means there's something I need to address. They'll chime in and try to get it to me as well. Otherwise, we'll have some Q&A at the end. We'll finish our official recording, and we'll hang out a little bit longer and do some chatting and answer questions as well a little bit longer than that. So first thing I'd like to do is thank our supporters, Social Flight. This is a significant expense for us to do this, and we've had some supporters, none financial, but Social Flight's going to help give the wings credit for the last two, and we've got an exciting new way we're going to do that. I'll talk about that in a bit. AVEX donated something, and I'll tell you when we get to our giveaways. Pivot, we got a great discount from Pivot, if you're gonna, which I really like their iPad mount and case. It works well in the cockpit. I can go on my knee to a pad on the glare shield. So Pivot donated the prize last month, and they also gave us a discount code, which is FFWS. It will be on another screen as well. Gold Seal supporting us. Of course, FAA Safety Team. That's probably how most of you found out about this. National Association of Flight Instructors, also discount code for joining. I'll talk about that. And the 99s, specifically the Ventura County 99s, have been a great supporter. Mike and I have both done presentations for them, and they've been very helpful in getting the word out. So I know we have a lot of 99s on board right now. Hello to you guys. Welcome. Glad to have you. And I really appreciate all the help the 99s have done in getting the word out to spread the word on this webinar. We'll be making a pitch for tips and any extra money we get to cover our Zoom costs, which, by the way, my Zoom renewal is coming up pretty soon, and I've got to pay that. Anything that goes over that, we'll give to the 99s for their scholarships. Our giveaways tonight will be 2 lifetime courses from Gold Seal, either private or instrument. That's like, I think, a $300 or $250 value. I think it's $300 for a lifetime. 1 year NAFI membership for free. And of course, if you don't win it, then you can certainly join us with the code S49 for joining. That'll give you a $49 rate for the first year, which you're going to see in a second gives you a pretty good discount on ForeFlight. Let's see, 33 discount off ForeFlight. Yeah, the Garmin D2 Air X10 smartwatch. That's easy for me to say. I even practiced it and I got it wrong. The Garmin D2 Air X10 smartwatch was donated by Avex. Really appreciate that, and we'll be giving that away later today too. That's got GPS in it. I got the website on our website. I have a link to look at that watch if you're not familiar with it. If you're watching the recording, don't fear. We'll continue to give away Gold Seal ground schools at each workshop, and we're going to continue to find more prizes as well. First, a disclaimer. I got the small print here for you, so I want to be sure everybody reads that. Just kidding. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. I'll make that bigger. I saw some misconceptions that we are the ForeFlight people. We are not. We're not from ForeFlight. All three of us have nothing to do with ForeFlight. We don't receive any money from ForeFlight to do this. We're just experienced ForeFlight users trying to share our knowledge and experience with you. So, giving back, you're in the phase of you learn, you earn, and then you return. And we're all in the phase of our careers where we're returning to industry. We love teaching. So here we are just sharing our knowledge. It's totally free to you. We're not getting paid for it, making no money. These are our practices that we give you. And this is the disclaimer part. It's incumbent upon you as pilots to follow the FARs, to act in a safe manner, specifically, the FAR that says you won't be careless and reckless. So still need to make good decisions, and nobody come back and say, well, he told me to fly here or there or this way, or to look down at my iPad and not out the window. None of that. That's our disclaimer. You're still responsible for being a good pilot. Some new workshop items. We're going to publish the chat and Q&A. I promise to do that. It was so a daunting a task that I just hadn't gotten to it yet. My real job, I'm working a pretty full schedule. You may have heard on the news, because they like to talk about it every day, about our pilot shortage, and lo and behold, it is here. We are working pretty hard and getting put away wet. So I just haven't had a chance to do it. The Wings credit will now be on SocialFlight. If you'd like to watch a recording of this program and of tonight, after tonight, and get Wings credit, these courses will be available on socialflight.com. I love SocialFlight. It's a great place to go find current events near you, because it knows your location and it finds all the FAA events, including tonight's event that you're here right now. This ForeFlight workshop is on there. It's a great one-stop shop to see everything near you or online. It also has an FAA Learning Center, and on that Learning Center, we've put these. SocialFlight has donated their space and their infrastructure, so to speak, to house the videos and have the quiz for the official Wings credit. So you'll just need to go to socialflight.com, and if you don't already have an account, create an account. If you do have an account, or after you create one, go to FAA credits and the logo on the top right and in the main menu, and then just be sure you use the same email address that you use in the FAA Wings website. Keep in mind, if you just watch this recording on YouTube, that doesn't qualify for Wings credit. Technically, you need to watch the course and take the quiz at the end, the one that's on SocialFlight, but stand by for a new and exciting way that we're going to be putting on this show. We're going to have another production probably. It's going to look a little bit more professional. It's going to not rely on me to have to click all this. The one-stop shop to see where that's going to be, again, ForeFlightWorkshops.com. I will post on there where it's going to be. So you may or may not receive the fast notice. You probably will still get a SPANS notice from the FAA safety team. But keep an eye on the the ForeFlightWorkshops.com website, and that's where you'll see exactly where to go and how to watch this next month. I might even change the day of the week as well. If you have any input on times, be sure and tell us, hey, this time I know the East Coasters may think it's too late. West Coast thinks it's too early. Maybe it's just right. Just let us know. Again, donations are appreciated. We're spending, like I said, thousands of dollars on the Zoom account to hold thousands of people who can attend. And I had no idea beyond my wildest dreams that this would be as successful and a lot of people interested in as it is. We're offering them free. Again, we're just giving back. If you can help defray those costs, great. If you like what you see and you feel like it's worth it, pay up. We're not going to charge ever. These are free. Again, if we receive more than our costs, we're going to donate to an aviation charity like the 99s. And on the ForeFlight Workshop's website is where you can see how to donate as well. So again, let's dive in. So at the beginning of each one, I like to cover some questions and comments from last month. And Rich A showed me a picture of his Citabria mount. And I have a Citabria and I teach in the back seat. And I thought, wow, this is clever. I'd like to see like a side view of this, Rich, if you could show me how you mounted that to the seat, because that's a great place to put it. And I'd like to confirm that it doesn't interfere with the stick in front too. He also put it up top with some bars and clamps. I have the my GoFlight clamps, which I really like, and I can clamp them to the bars up there, but I don't have the shade thing. It looks like he's got a shade up there I don't have, because my iPad will overheat in the summer if I leave it up there because it's right in the sun. Richard D showed us pictures of his Velcro mount. That's really cool. Looks like it's a pretty hefty Velcro mount there. Am I able to draw in here? No, I can't. Another one from Tim P showed us this mount that he uses on each yoke. It looks like a clamp on the yoke and maybe a ram mount for the iPads themselves. He has the shades that he also uses. Maybe that's why it's so dark in the airplane. No, it's night. Any event, those are great pull-down shades for getting the sun off you if you need it. John L asks, is this overkill? Asking for a friend. That's one way to convert a six-pack to a glass cockpit, I suppose. But I do like there's a backup plan there, a couple of them. So keep your pictures coming. I like to see this. If you see some great ideas, if you have great ideas, share them with us, and I'll share them with everybody else. I use my
iPad.
Say
even if you had one that wasn't a good idea, let's see that one too.
That's right.
Let's see what not to do.
I love it. If you have one that's not a good idea, share that too. We love seeing not a good ideas. I was flying over the Grand Canyon and just happened to have my iPad in the picture there. Your questions and comments some more. We got Gary says, you sure did communicate. No, this was from 2 months ago. I just want to repeat this information because it's important. I want to go over these buttons and the terminology because I'm going to use these again. There may be somebody here who hasn't seen these, and I'm going to try to use the common terminology for all these buttons so that when I say it, you'll know what I'm talking about. The first one is the star. On any page where you see the star, that's favorites. You can generally tap on that and add it to your favorites. It can also show up when you're looking at your favorites, like a list of your favorites. The next one is the send to button. If you see a box with an arrow coming out of it, that's the send to button. You tap that, and if you want to send a chart, a plate, you want to send it to the map, or you want to send your route to the flights, that's where you do it. Look for that, send to. You can even email your flight plan or your briefing to your flight instructor. That's the send to button. When we look at the maps page, we're going to see the maps layers button, and that's the big button on the left side where you choose what you see, all the overlays on the map. I'm going to refer to that as the flight plan drawer, FPL. You tap on that and it brings down your flight planning drawer and your nav log, so the digital nav log. The gear, when you see that, that's for settings. Any page you see as settings gear, that's for just some quick settings that might be more pertinent to that page rather than all the settings, all the global settings in ForeFlight. Like, for example, this one is on the map page. When you tap that, it'll take you right to some map settings, the more commonly used map settings. And again, if you don't see what you want there, then you'll go to the typical more tab and hit settings and go to the global menu for settings. This button is for synthetic vision. It's like a little attitude indicator. That's if you have an AHRS unit in one of your mobile devices that will send your attitude and heading reference to ForeFlight, or some aircraft will actually send the attitude heading reference into ForeFlight. That will turn it on so you can see the attitude indicator on the side of the iPad. You can also go full screen with that, and great for an emergency situation. I recommend people use the synthetic vision with a safety pilot and just see, to build the confidence, could you fly the airplane if you lost all your electrical, all your instruments, all your gyros, everything? Could you fly with just that? I don't recommend practicing that as habit. I recommend trying it so you can build confidence in using it as an emergency procedure. Anytime you see that, that's the instrument panel button. That's on the top of the map page. It's got a little like speedometer looking thing on it. And that's what opens up on the bottom that turns on and off the instrument panel on the bottom of the maps page, brings it up or hides it when you toggle that button. And then favorites and recents, that's how you can get to, it's got a star for favorites and a clock for history or recents. Tap that and you'll get another menu where you choose favorites or recents on your different routes or airports or whatever. The other two that I want to talk about is the annotation button. You tap on that, it brings up the annotate screen where you can change pencil, pen, highlight, or whatever, and actually draw on your documents, draw on the map, or whatever. But my favorite button of all is this next one with the three dots on it. This one, I'm going to try this. Oh, look, I can do it on that screen. The zoom to route button. When you tap on that, it just puts your entire route on the screen. It zooms to the appropriate level that will make your route exactly fit on the screen. And so you'll see me do that a couple times tonight where I zoom to route because I want to view the entire route.
Hey, Brian, a couple questions while you're right there on
Sure.
that zoom to route. We've already had one question in the Q&A on that. Is there a way to make it zoom to what remains of the route, or is it just the entire route?
It's the entire route. I've tried that actually, so it's a good question. No, the answer is no, but what you can do is you can change your entire route by deleting previous legs off of there. Then it will zoom to route, and that's kind of Mickey Mouse way of making it do what you're asking. But no, it won't zoom to the remaining part of the route unless you delete the previous part.
Yeah, and that's the answer I gave them. Another question, not necessarily or not specifically asked tonight, is sometimes you'll open up the chart and you'll see scribbles across the middle of the chart. That's a common question I see all the time. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so a lot of times people may have left the annotate on. I know that on the map page they've made a timer on it so that it turns itself off after a short period so you don't accidentally leave it on. So a number of things can cause those to show up on the chart. We'll show that when I switch over to the iPad, but if you had something circled or highlighted from before, or you might have the annotate left on when you tried scanning or panning or pinching and zooming and you actually marked on the chart instead of actually pinching or zooming or panning the chart, you actually drew on it because this annotate was left turned on. So when you see those, you can turn the annotate on, you can clear all. I'll try and show that when I get my iPad on. I'll probably do some annotations and then clear them all just to show you that. But if you're on the map page and you annotate, it should go away automatically after a few seconds and you'll have to turn it on again. Paul asks, how can you erase the information you packed after your flight is complete? And that's a common question. I've gotten that several times. And the answer is to go to your downloads and you can delete it from there. The book actually has the manual, the ForeFlight User's Guide has down at the bottom of this image I've put on here, charts downloaded to your device that are not part of a selected region. Like let's say you don't download every region, but you packed for this particular trip. Then you can go look in there and click on the More tab and then Downloads. And in the downloads at the top of each section, you'll see packed and unselected regions. You can delete those. There should be a delete key to the right of that, or you can swipe left on that row to delete it. So again, it's on More, Downloads, and then just scroll down the downloads and you'll see packed and unselected regions. It will actually look like this. I took a screenshot. It'll be at the top of each section. And so you can swipe that left to delete it or tap on it. It should give you a delete option as well. John says, where do you look to see what plan you have? Okay, the answer to that is go to the More tab on the far right and then tap on Account. You'll see a section called Current Subscription, and that's where that is. John says, my 32 gigabyte iPad kept saying out of memory. So you remember, don't download the next data set early because what will happen is it'll have two entire sets of data on board, the next one and the current one. If you look at the expiration date, and I'll show you that in a second. Actually, I think I can just switch to that real quick here. If you look at the data set, More, and then I'm not sharing. Hang on a second. I knew this would happen live. I'll have to reset the iPad display. 1 second. This happens. It's not the screw up, it's the recovery. It's not that you stall the airplane, it's that you can recover it. All right. There we go. So tap on the More tab down here, and then downloads, and you'll see the dates. So you scroll down, you can see everything here was updated June 2nd. A new database just came out yesterday. But if it was June 1 today, you'd see 2 Idahos, 2 Illinois, 2 Indianas, and it'd say expired or about to expire, or you could download the next one, and it'll actually keep 2 databases on board. So if you do that early, it's going to double the memory required by ForeFlight. So just be aware of that. Also, so when new updates become effective, another technique is to tap on delete, and you can delete all downloads and then just re-download all the current ones. Don't do that right before a trip, and make sure you've got a robust internet connection before you do that as well. Several people have asked, will you please disable the chat? And Mike alluded to this before. It's very distracting. Yeah, you don't have to watch it. I don't have it on. I could look at it right now. If I pull it up, I can see it. Yeah, it can be distracting. If you're on a PC, it's very easy to turn off. It defaults off. If you're watching on an iPad, like Mike said, it defaults to on, and you need to turn the notifications off, and he explained how to do that. I considered turning it off so everybody could just focus on this, but I kind of like it. I've learned a lot. There are some people out there, arguably, who know more about this program than I, and they participate, they chime in. They don't necessarily want to ask a question in the Q&A, but they can chime in the chat, and I like that. Also, I consider this an informal, it's a workshop, it's not a formal class, and the chat is a way for us to be social and say hello to one another. And, since we're not in person, it kind of gets that personal feeling in there. So I'm going to leave it going. If it's a distraction, don't look at it. Yeah.
By the way, speaking of which, you accidentally did not allow users to use the chat. I've been trying to ping you on that.
Oh, that's ironic. That happened last month, and I need to enable the chat. Hang on, give me 1 sec. I think it's worth looking into. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Is that, you guys are hosts of the webinar, so are you able to get to that?
No, you have the security. You have the security controls, my friend.
Oh, do you know where it is?
Security? It's under security.
Where do I see security?
Oh. It should be at the bottom along with everything else in Zoom.
Really? I don't see it.
Hold on.
Chat. Let me go to the chat window. Here we go. Who can chat with whom? Let me see. I'm going to pick the people I like on here. Attendees can chat with everyone. Okay, that should work. Can somebody tell me if it worked? There we go. I see a woohoo.
It's already pinging.
Melissa Fowler B. Yeah, there we go. All right.
go.
So
All right.
Now it's blowing up.
my apologies.
That's hilarious.
That is funny that happened. Okay. Anyway, I'm glad we got it going. Rock on. Everybody have fun with it. You can also
breathe now.
change who you're chatting with. You can send a message in the chat just to us, but we're not likely to see it because like I said, we're not monitoring that. There's 8,220 people on here right now, so I just don't think we can watch all that. I'm kidding. Okay, so the Q&As for the official questions. Ask us questions in the Q&A, and again, if we don't get to them now, we might answer them next month, or we may answer them via email. I do want to publish a Q&A. I just don't know how to send this many emails out. I'm going to send one out. I'm going to get probably a MailChimp account or something like that and say, hey, are you okay if we send you only ForeFlight workshops related emails like the chat or documents like the Q&A afterwards, or when the next one is, or any notices like that. So keep an eye out for that. All right, enough about that. So again, the plans, there's basic, pro, and performance. They all have the word plus after them. It's easier for me to cut that in half from 6 words down to 3. The basic features are listed here. You can get the pro plan, and it's everything in the plus these other things. And then there's the performance plus, and it has all those other things in addition to the pro plan. You can look and see where those are. These are the prices, the current prices, but if you're a NAFI member, then you can get a 33% discount. That's what the prices would be. Yes, I'm making a pitch. Bob and I are both board members for NAFI, so we're proud. Of course, I'm going to do that. NAFI has been kind enough to give me a special code, S49, if you want to join NAFI. So if you're going to buy the Performance Plus and save $80, would you pay $49 to save $80? Or if I get Jeppesen charts and other coverage like Canada and all that, then sometimes I'll save a lot more, but you can join NAPI with a coupon code S49. That'll be on the website as well. And then you can get this discount. In any event, another thing you want to check is your iOS okay and your iPad iOS okay to update. Be sure you check with ForeFlight. iPad Pilot News has a great little tool that they have, and the link is there. It's also on the links on ForeFlight Workshops. But whichever app you use, you can see up top ForeFlight Mobile is compatible with iOS and iPad OS 16.5.1, which came out after I took the picture on my smartwatch. That 16.4.1 is good. This one just came out last month, and we're going to talk about some changes in the new ForeFlight version, at least, that goes along with that. The change history is in the back of the user guide, and you can see one came out in June, version 15.6 of ForeFlight. And these are the changes. We're going to cover those in a second. But you can see when ForeFlight updates itself, you'll see this little dot next to it. And if you don't see the dot, and maybe you don't have 15.6, you can force an update. I have a lot of people call me and ask me this. In fact, I had to research it myself, that when I plug it in, I look at the updates, I don't see the update for ForeFlight. It's not even available. So make sure you're plugged in, that your power level, I think, is above a certain level, maybe 20% or 50 or something. There's a certain power level that I think you have to be above. Go to the App Store, tap the personal logo, your little round circle logo on the top right, and I'm going to show you a video here of exactly what I'm talking about. So we open the App Store, top right here is your little personal logo. Tap that, and it's going to bring up, oh, if I leave the PowerPoint, it stops the video. It's going to bring up this window, and you see there's no update for ForeFlight. So tap, pull it down, drag it down to force a refresh. Then now look, there's 39 updates, and you can tap on update all, or you can scroll down to the one, ForeFlight or whatever you're wanting to update at that point. But you saw I had no updates. I dragged it down with it plugged in, battery charged, and I could see that when I drug down and refreshed, I had all these updates. So that's a way to force the updates. When ForeFlight does update itself, you'll see this little dot. So if you open your iPad and you see that little dot there, you know what's going to happen next, right? You're going to open it up. You're going to ForeFlight because you actually want to work on something. You want to look at it. You want to plan a flight or whatever. But no, you know that it's a new version of ForeFlight. So what's going to happen? We're going to see that thing we see all too often when we open ForeFlight. Let's start the video here. When it's got a blue dot, it's going to give you, hey, bing. Look at all our new features that you need to learn. And you want to say, okay, got it. But instead, click on Learn More. Let it open the tab in your browser. Then go back and leave it there. You can go back and look at it later. This is just a technique that I use. Then I click, okay, got it. And I jump into ForeFlight. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at all the changes, the new features in ForeFlight. In 15.6, which came out last month, there are ADS-B traffic breadcrumbs now. So you can see the flight paths of other aircraft by tapping on them. The qualification is that you have an ADS-B traffic in. It can't just be internet traffic it's getting from an internet connection. It has to be ADS-B traffic input. And you can see the breadcrumbs and see what an airplane's doing. Like if you saw this type of a pattern, then this would tell you, well, he's probably staying in the pattern and not departing, and it gives you an idea what the aircraft's doing. And it says ADS-B or FLARM receiver. Bob, do you have a FLARM receiver? Mike, FLARM?
Oh yeah, I've got three of them.
FLARM.
Do you have one? I thought everybody had one.
Yeah, that's, we're constantly learning new words. I had to look it up. Yes, it's in the ForeFlight manual. I looked it up. Here's FLARM. It's a collision avoidance technology popular in the glider pilot community. Can you give us this in English, you guys? Do you know what FLARM is?
I looked it up with you last night, and it apparently it is a private tool out there.
It looks like if you have a Sentry, it has FLARM. It says.
I don't know. I use a Sentry, and I'm getting ADS-B in. So.
Yeah. So anybody knows what FLARM stands for? Let us know. Maybe I've heard of phlegm. I don't know FLARM. I know what a farm is. I don't know. Anybody chime in if you.
It seems to be a proprietary technology when I hit their website, somebody owns that. I forget who it is. And I don't want to take the time to look it up now.
Yeah, okay. So it's a kind of it's a replacement like ADSB, but you have to have that to get the the patterns like that or the breadcrumbs.
I think
Another
I
new
found
feature,
it actually. It's sort of an acronym based on flight alarm.
flight alarm. Okay, perfect.
weird.
That's what I thought it was.
My students are always alarmed when they fly with me, so I don't know. Anyway, going on.
Yeah, same here. Here's a cool feature, day-night overlay. You're going to see that on my iPad. You may have noticed it already. Shows you where nighttime is. And if I switch to my iPad right now, you can see it's starting to get dark on the East Coast. This is live right now. So that's kind of cool. You can see where it's dark and where it's light on the planet. So next new feature that we got last month is aircraft on runway alerts. Speaking of a safety alert or flight alarm, you can get safety critical alerts like if somebody's on the runway, again, ADSB or FLARM, let's just say ADSB because we all know what that is. You have to have traffic coming in from the ADSB system, and it will tell you if there's traffic on the runway. It'll also tell you if there's traffic on short final ahead of you that's too close. And you turn that on and that's all plans. You can see up here, everybody has that. I meant to go back. All plans have the day-night overlay. Pro Plus and above have the traffic breadcrumbs. So the basic won't have that. So going back to here, all plans have the runway alerts. Another thing is documents from the clouds. It used to be just Dropbox. So I set up a Dropbox account so I could put things in here, documents and stuff. Well, now it's cloud. There's a cloud drive support, OneDrive support. If you have a OneDrive account, you can now use it and set that up. And that's again for the Pro and performance plan, not the basic. Another new feature for all plans is the baro corrected pressure altitude. This is kind of cool because we used to just have, GPS altitude. And then we had ForeFlight knew the barometric pressure of a nearby airport. If it has those two pieces of information, why doesn't it just give you your barometric altitude? Bob, you were playing with this earlier today, right?
Yeah, I was out with a student with my Sentry. I turned that on, and it was really neat. Going from airport to airport, it was grabbing the nearest one. It was flying in the northwest quadrant of the St. Louis class Bravo, and we were picking up Smart, then St. Louis. Smart is the name of the airport. I'm sorry. Then St. Louis Lambert, then Spirit of St. Louis, and it just kept updating. And what's really nice is down at the bottom where it says barrel pressure, it tells you the the local barometric pressure that it's getting. It doesn't tell you which airport. But
now on this picture, it's showing it in hectopascals. Does it also show it in inches of mercury?
They must have used hectopascal. Mine was in inches of mercury.
Very cool. That's cool. So
whatever you're set at, whatever your preferred settings are, that's what it's showing.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, and was it very accurate? Did it match your altimeter?
It matched within a couple of feet.
A couple of feet?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I mean, obviously, I'm in a non-pressurized airplane. It's probably as accurate as you're using the alternate static because I'm inside the cockpit. But
this isn't using, if it's using a nearby altimeter setting and your GPS altitude, I think that would work in a pressurized airplane, wouldn't it?
Well, no, the Sentry is.
This was getting it from the Sentry, or was it getting?
It was getting it from the Sentry.
But is it getting barometric pressure from the Sentry, or is it getting the altimeter setting from a nearby airport?
Yeah, it's getting the altimeter setting from FISB, from the nearby airport. And it was using the barrel sensor inside the Sentry.
Interesting. Well, anyway, that's a new feature. I look forward to playing with that as well.
Yeah, it's really it works well.
Okay, and while you're here, can we emphasize iPad safety before we jump into planning this flight to Oshkosh? Do you see people with their head buried in the iPad ever when you're flying?
Yeah, I had that conversation with a student today. Oddly enough, they didn't have their iPad out. I had mine up on a mount. Yes, our friends at Pivot on my side of the. Cool. My side of the airplane, and they're leaning over looking at my iPad. I said, the plane you're going to hit is in front of us.
There it is.
Need to look that way.
Yeah, that's something I just want to emphasize safety. Every time we talk about ForeFlight, the iPad, using an EFB in any case, It's a heads down device. Glass cockpits or our new GPS devices programming. Please take a few seconds off and look out the window. You should spend, FAA still recommends 80% of your time out the window. Look out there for a while, stop, come in and do a task, one small task, go back out the window again. I can't emphasize how important it is to look for other airplanes. When two aircraft try to occupy the same place in the sky, it can be really ugly. Hey, Mike.
You know, the rule of thumb I use is 3 seconds or 3 taps on the iPad, and then get my head back outside again.
It's a good point. I like that. Think ahead. Have a technique that you use to force yourself not to focus on that iPad, whether it be 3 seconds or 3 taps or whatever it is. Have a technique.
I agree with Mike, and I'll broaden it out a little bit because we're all flying. We got iPads, even an older airplane with say an older say a GNS 430W or something like that. If you're not careful, you're inside the cockpit all the time. Now imagine an iPad inside something like a G1000 or an Avidyne full display system.
Yeah.
It's real easy. It's real easy to watch Saturday morning cartoons inside the cockpit.
It's a beautiful, colorful, sexy looking display. It's very alluring, very distracting, and you have to make a mental commitment to fly the actual airplane.
Yeah. And bear in mind that the traffic you see on there is there, but so is the traffic you don't see on there, because they don't all have to show up on the iPad. They may not all have ADS-B out. They can still be flying around with weight. Say again?
There's a hot air balloon operation in St. Louis. I really don't want to run into them the hard way.
Exactly.
And, they have every right to be in the sky. They don't need ADS-B. So
yeah, interesting. So just keep that in mind. I just want to emphasize safety. Don't focus on the iPad too much. But speaking of the iPad, let's jump to it and let's plan a flight from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Oshkosh. So bear with me as I get on here. If we look at the direct route, we can see that there might be some complications with this route. To some, it may be more of a complication than to others. So as we look at this, we can go, okay, here's our direct route. And I always start with the direct route and then go from there. So I've put Grand Rapids to Oshkosh in there already. And I put it up high. I want to go high. I want to be able to glide. If I'm going to go over water like this, I want to be able to glide. I learned to fly out in Southern California. We flew to Catalina a lot, and we'd climb up over the coast and then continue out over the water once we get high enough, and we could always glide to either airport on either side. Well, this is, if we were to measure this, from shore to shore, actually from the midpoint to the nearest shoreline is, I guess I could make this a little easier for myself. From approximately the midpoint to approximately the shoreline, is 30 miles, 25, 30 miles. So can my airplane glide 30 miles, or how high do I have to be to glide 30 miles to either side? Because when I'm at the center, that's when it's going to happen. Well, let's take a look at my aircraft manual. I happen to keep it in documents. I'm going to close this one and go to my own folder here for Cessna 182 POH. We'll say we're flying a 182 today. Here's the glide ratio, and to glide 20 miles, I need to be up at 12,000 feet. You can see that. I can glide 20. So 30, we can probably add another, 6,000, 18,000. We're going to have to be pretty high to make that kind of glide. So just be aware. And the reason I'm bringing this up really is to show off that you can keep your manual in the document section of ForeFlight. You can do it in OneDrive now, or you can just put all the documents you want in a Dropbox folder that you link with ForeFlight, and we're going to talk about that next month, probably, how to really organize your documents. So I'm going to go and close this document for now. I'm going to decide that, no, that's too high for me to have to glide. I just don't think I want to go around. I don't want to go straight across like that. If I also see some airspace here that could be a problem. If we look at this restricted airspace, R6903, the easiest way to determine the lateral limits of that is just to tap in that area. So I'm just going to tap right here and hold for a second. And we look under airspace, we can find R6903 right here, and it's the surface to 45,000 feet. And there's the controlling agency, Minneapolis. and the frequency. Obviously, I'm not going to clear that, so we cannot fly through that. Well, when are the hours of operations of that? Maybe it's not effective. We can tap on more data. It highlights the field, and we can see the hours. It's intermittent and it's by NOTAM, so we'd have to check the NOTAMs to know if that is active. Either way, we're not going to fly across the water like that. We're going to do a different route, but I wanted to show you how to use ForeFlight to see the restricted area. You can also look at, and I'm going to review this because we talked about it last month, but we can talk about the panels where we used to look at it the old-fashioned way. We would look at the panels on the sectional to see where the restricted area is. But as you can see, I can't find any panels on here. So I just want to review again how to bring that up, because a lot of people ask that. It's a common question. So what we want to do is go to the quick settings gear up top here, tap it. We're going to bring down the map quick settings. Scroll all the way to the bottom of that. And just a few sections up is map touch action, a few lines up. Tap on, that's going to determine what happens to the map when we touch on it. Well, the map can do nothing as I have it set now. It can bring the chart that I tap to the front, or it can bring the tap that I chart to the front. Did I say the tap that I chart? Bring the chart that I tap to the front with its legends. So we want to see the legends on the chart, all of them. And that's all that this is just a bunch of charts overlaid and stitched together. So let's tap on Bring Chart to Front with Legends, close the menu, and take a look at what we can see here. I have the Chicago sectional, and you can see it brought it to the front with all the legends. We can also zoom in on these legends, and we can find that restricted airspace this way. Hang on, bear with me. This is my touchpad issue. So I'm going to get back to the Chicago sectional, and I'm going to zoom in to the restricted area 6901. It's or this one was 6903 up to 45,000 feet, intermittent by NOTAM. So anyway, we can see it here on the tab. We also noticed that on the chart panel, I mean, that we also had a MOA. Well, can we fly through an MOA? Yes, VFR traffic can do it with caution, but bear in mind there's military operations in there, and you may not want to. IFR traffic cannot fly through an MOA. It must be routed around it. But while we're learning ForeFlight, let's see what are the dimensions of that MOA. If I tap and hold in there, you can see the minnow MOA here is from 10,000 feet to 18,000 feet. The controlling agency is the FAA, and we can click on details. It will highlight the entire MOA, which I didn't know actually included the restricted area, which I just learned. I didn't look at it closely enough to see that. So it's that whole area. Another way we can see that on the tab, but I want to show you something. If we look at the panel on the chart, up here where the MOAs are, I'm going to zoom into those. And this was the minnow MOA. It just says minnow, altitude 10,000, intermittent by NOTAM, normally daylight hours. Minneapolis Center is the controlling agency. So what is 10,000 feet? The bottom, the top? Well, we know that because we looked at the digital portion in ForeFlight by tapping that it was 10,000 to 18,000 feet. But notice the asterisk next to the altitude here. If we scroll over here to the notes, whenever you see an asterisk, be sure you go look and see, okay, what's that about? Altitudes indicate the floor of the MOA. All MOAs extend to but do not include flight level 180 unless otherwise indicated in the tabulation or on the chart. I didn't know that MOAs only went to 18,000 feet. I just learned that today. So, we're always learning. I just thought there were some really tall ones out there too, some really high ones. Turns out I couldn't find one. In any event, bear in mind that is a little bit more limited. It was easier to just tap in here, and ForeFlight gives you the real answer, 10,000 feet up to 17,999. So plan, how are we going to get to Oshkosh? We're not going to go straight across. I don't want to do that. I'm guessing we're probably going to do something like, coming down here, going around the lake and coming up here. But I don't know how to arrive to Oshkosh. I've never done it before. It turns out there's a notice for flying into Oshkosh, and ForeFlight does provide that in the ForeFlight documents. So let's see what that's about. I know that I'm going to get myself down here to the Chicago area. From there, where am I going to go? How do we get to Oshkosh? We'll talk about the route of flight in a second, but let's take a look at where we want to end up. So I'm going to go to Documents again. In the bottom of your Documents catalog, you'll see these drives. FAA, ForeFlight, Jeppesen, if you subscribe to Jeppesen. Well, this happens to be a ForeFlight document, provided document, not published by ForeFlight, but ForeFlight's providing it in their database, which I will point out here, the ForeFlight Mobile Users Guide is always at the top of that, right here in the ForeFlight drive. I would be sure you have a green check mark next to that one and download it. There's also a lot of other guides that ForeFlight has here. I recommend that you have these. Take a look at them, be familiar with them. Light gun signals, if you forget. When you get light gun signals because you've lost your comms, that's not going to be the time to go figuring out or trusting your memory on what a flashing red in the air or a solid green on the ground means. You can look at them right here. They're in the ForeFlight thing. But also is the EAA AirVenture Oshkosh 2023 notice. That's what I want to look at today. So I'm going to tap on that. When I tap on that, I get the Oshkosh 2023 notice, which you can go online and you can download it. It's a PDF, or you can have it right here on your iPad. As we look at it, there are a bunch of things in here that you want to look at. It's actually 32 pages, but if I scroll across, you can see there's some information on pre-flight planning. Of particular interest are the airshow TFR times. These are times that the TFR is in effect and you cannot arrive Oshkosh. Very important to know when those are. A lot of other information on landing and taxiing there. But here's the VFR route planning guide, and you can see there are several. So we can look at this and say, okay, we're going to come in maybe from east of Madison, so this one might work for us. I might take a look at that. But rather than getting deep into how to fly to Oshkosh, I just want to go to the route that actually, when we arrive Oshkosh, we're going to use. Where do I need to get to? So how do I plan this flight around the lake, and where do I need to get to? Interestingly, here's the frequencies for getting around Chicago's airspace, depending on the sector you're in. So these are where you could talk to air traffic control when you're below 5,000 feet, get flight following. We'll come back to that because I think we might need that. Arrival into Oshkosh, well, it says you got to have this notice arrival pages mentioned in the ATIS available. The ATIS is going to tell you which arrival they're using. So there's really one arrival, but a bunch of different points on it. So it's going to mention the transitions, what the transition starting point is going to be. That will be on the ATIS, and I'm going to show you that route in a second. And then it says here that you want to arrive at that transition starting point at 90 knots and 1,800 feet. So everybody's going to have to do that. Then there's some information for aircraft that are not capable of flying as slow as 90 knots. So we'll have to look at that if we can't go that slow. If you're flying an aircraft that you don't typically fly that slowly, I recommend go flying and fly some straight and level turns and just become accustomed to what it's like flying at 90 knots. Don't do it for the first time while you're looking out the window flying in formation with all these other airplanes. So ATC will advertise the transition starting point on the arrival ATIS. And they can make real-time changes. Approach control can tell you that. So also another note here that's noteworthy is don't overtake another aircraft. Don't make S-turns because everybody behind you is going to have to do that as well. But here are the points along the arrival that start the beginning part. So we're going to want to put these into ForeFlight. So we can see we've got the Endeavor Bridge, and you see they've got a visual point, a database waypoint, VPENV, the visual points that you can put in your GPS to actually put that route in. Well, we can also do it in ForeFlight. So I want to somehow get to this beginning one, Endeavor Bridge. So let's plan our flight to get to that point for starters, and then we'll come back to this. There's also a table of contents that while we're doing this, most documents have a table of contents. When you hit the search button here, there's more to it than meets the eye. You tap on that search button, you can search, like you can type a word in there. Whoops, I went to my wrong keyboard. And it'll search for it and show every location of that word. Or you can tap on contents, and it gives you a table of contents. Now I can tap on pre-flight planning and it'll go directly to that. If I tap this caret, it'll open up that menu even more. This is kind of useless to tell me that there's a 1 here. I know that Mike, you were talking about this and you set this up yourself. You can actually create your own bookmarks if you have a document whose table of contents you don't like. Because what does 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 mean? Right?
Yeah, that's the same thing I thought when I started doing my planning the other day. I thought, "Well, those are no use at all to me." So I went hog wild on the bookmarks and made a whole bunch of bookmarks that apply to the various sections I might need to use.
So can you talk
So-
me through creating a couple right here and I'll just do it?
Yeah, sure. So for instance, on this page you're on right now, if you close that search menu that you're in, just tap outside the box or tap there, tap the little flag that's right next to it,
This?
upper right there. Yeah, just tap on that.
That's a bookmark, right?
Yeah, you can create a bookmark on this page. You can call it whatever you want. So
I would
what
call this Fisk VFR arrival into OSH.
yeah, that's what I did. And then add a bookmark. Yeah, first you have to get your fingers to work.
You do, it's not easy. So if I just name it what it's titled and then I can tap on
Yeah.
add bookmark,
Exactly.
okay?
Now go click that that magnifying glass again. And if you click the bookmarks on the right, just to the right of the table of contents, now you can see the bookmarks right there.
So there's the one I just created. So I can be
Right.
on another page looking at this like crazy, making everybody dizzy. Then I can click back to here. I'm going to go to bookmarks. And the Fisk arrival to Oshkosh, I tap that, takes me right to it.
Exactly.
And so you
So
can make
I
as
made
many.
other bookmarks for runway 9 procedure, runway 27, run 1836. So I can go direct to each runway. You can make one for the Appleton arrival, one for Fond du Lac.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, since I have no fear of meeting my good friends over at ForeFlight at the show, they're used to me stomping over during Sun and Fun and during Oshkosh. I'll
Yeah.
bring up this number thing. I want a particular tech rep that listens to me.
Well, and I've seen this in a lot of different documents, depending on who created the document, how they created it. I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but a lot of the time I've seen tables of contents that are essentially useless.
I think they've created bookmarks there, but just didn't rename them. They took the default. And I
Yeah.
think that's what happened. I mean, you can expand these out and see what's in. Maybe they're
Yep.
chapter numbers. I've done that with my POH. I have a PDF copy of my pilot operating handbook. And what I've done is I've gone in there and made some chapters that are pertain to me, you know, the emergency procedures, the normal procedures. If I go to the 182 POH and we go to bookmarks, we go to the search
Yeah.
button, then
Yeah, there's
there is
no
no
contents.
Yeah, this one is just a PDF that came with nothing, but I created my own bookmarks.
There you
And I
go.
just, these are them. If I have an emergency, I can go right to chapter 3 emergency and it takes me right
Yeah.
there. So I think it's noteworthy and good idea to make your own bookmarks. All you've got to do is when you're on a page again to review it, let's say we've got speeds for emergency operation. I want to, let's say, bookmark that. So hit the bookmark. It comes up with a title. What do you want to call it? I'll call it speeds.
Emergency speeds.
Yeah, emergency speeds. And then tap on add bookmark.
So I think people are getting a little antsy. We figured out this part. I think people want to see how the heck we're going to get across Lake Michigan.
All right, I agree. I'm trying to figure that out too. How are we
I
going to
wanna go
get there?
swimming.
And I learned to fly in Waukegan, so I'm interested in hearing what you have to say.
Well,
got
and you
sharks in
jump
that
in
lake,
if you
right?
do something different. I know that I would probably, for starters, fly around the lakeshore. Looks like a good way to go. Since I know that I want to get to the bottom, the south end of the lakeshore, I mean, we can start at some airport down here. Here's one. You can go via airports because I just like going via airports. So I rubber banded, I release it. It released right there and it gave me the option to grab that lat long. It's showing me the nearby intersections, but that's not what I want. I don't want waypoints. If I want VORs, I can tap on nav. It'll show me the nearby nav aids, but I want that airport. So I'm going to tap on airports right here. And looking, lo and behold, there's Michigan City, Indiana. That's probably the one I landed on. I just had to get near it, and it shows me the nearby airport. So I'm going to tap that, and boom, it just selects that to the route. It just adds it to the route. As we're flying along all these, that's a long leg to maybe do without any kind of wind check or anything like that. So we can probably grab some visual points. Look at that. Here's some visual points. If they have a flag on it and a name with an underline, like Bridgman, I would say that would be a good one because not only do people ATC know where it is, towers, whatever, but there are also waypoints. So I go to waypoints and look at that. There's Bridgman. I'll add that. As I scan over to here, sorry, I've got some touchology issues that open the menu if I tap too long. Do I see any more visual waypoints along here? Well, here's a good VOR right there. Oh, look, here's an objectionable airport. There's a bunch of those around the country. If you see those, that means the FAA has deemed that there may be some airspace issue involved with that airport. I don't know what this one would be. But let's just say we want to go to Pullman VOR. So I'm going to just tap on the route, and I'm going to rubber band it over here to Pullman, or near it, and tap on nav, and then I can tap on Pullman, and it'll add that. So now I've got a few fixes. I can actually zoom to route right now and see what I've got by tapping the zoom to route button right here. And there's the entire route. Well, I'm still not going to fly that far over water. If I would have gone directly to, let's say from Grand Rapids to this point, there's an airport right here. What looks like a good idea may not always be. So let's just say I want to use, is that Gary?
That's Gary.
GYY. So let's just go to the flight plan. And I'm going to show you another way to do these things. So I'm going to grab this Pullman, Bridgman, and MGC, pull that out. And I'm just going to insert Gary after Grand Rapids. So I'm going to tap on Grand Rapids and insert after. I'm going to insert, was it Gary? KGYY. And insert. So now I'm going to go back to zoom to route and see what happened. And you can see that, yeah, that's kind of where I want to go. But look at that. We're still doing quite a bit of over water. And I don't know about you. And Bob has told me that this water is pretty cold. But that's still 12 miles offshore right there. And we know that we're...
Yeah, 12 miles out, you're in 50-degree water.
50-degree water. I don't know what the hypothermia time is, but for me, it wouldn't be very long.
There's probably sharks in that water too.
Yeah. Now,
Really big sturgeon.
yeah. So a lot of you may be thinking, what's the problem with flying over water? Well, you know, as a Part 91 pilot, can you legally do it? If that airspace wasn't there, yes, you could. But there are a couple regulations that govern pilots of operations where passengers are paying, and they're not allowed to do it. For example, if we go over and look at our regulations and see FAR, let's see, I saved it here under my bookmarks, 91509. Now, 91500 series is for, turbojet large aircraft, but it tells you the equipment that must be on board, life rafts, life preserver, blah, blah, blah. So if someone's flying those aircraft, they need to have that. But if you're flying a 182, you can fly 10 feet off the deck all the way across all day long, and you're not required to have this. But can you? Yes. Should you? Yes. If we were to do a weight and balance, let's say I have a raft. I can fly across, but I have a raft. So let's go back to ForeFlight, and let's just look at our weight and balance. Can I carry the raft with me? So I'm going to go look at my weight and balance. So I'm going to click on More, Weight and Balance, and I happen to have the 182 pulled up here. And if I there's 3 of us today, a pilot, a co-pilot. I've got our weights. I got some camping gear in the back. It's 50 pounds. And here's our $5,600 4-man raft. That weighs 30 pounds. If I tap that and add that, and then we got full fuel. So if I tap that, it just put us overweight. You can use this weight and balance calculator to just add and remove things. Well, you can remove this backseat passenger and you're good again. So do we want to take only 2 people in a raft and go straight across? Or do we want to bring our 3rd passenger back and take the raft out? And you can see how playing with this weight and balance calculator can help you determine what you're going to do here. And again, I mentioned the send to button earlier. If you look up here it is. Some rental facilities or flight schools require that if you're going to rent a 4-place airplane with more than 2 people or one person or whatever their rules are, require you to send them your weight and balance. So you can do that with the send to button. You've calculated your weight and balance and you click the send to, and you can send it via email. You can print it and give it to them right there, or you can email it. If you do that, it's going to automatically open up an email and you can address to its to and send it to them straight from here. or to your flight instructor. Hey, I've done a weight and balance. Here's what we look like. Kind of a handy feature. We'll do some more on setting up this weight and balance, but I wanted you to see how it's there. Maybe you've already got it set up and how you can use it as a tool. So back to our route. We're not going to go straight across because we're going to bring our third friend and we don't have enough weight to bring our raft. And so we're going to do this other route. Again, this is too far across, so that we can pull this back down to this, I see a visual waypoint here, New Buffalo. So I'm just going to pull this down to New Buffalo. I see something on the chart that might be concerning. Go back to waypoints and tap on New Buffalo, and it will insert it into our route. That's a little bit better. And as we're looking at a little bit of crossing here, now we can obviously fly closer if we want to. We'll see what it looks like and stay comfortable. But I saw the parachute jumpers here. And if you turn on the digital aeronautical chart right here, you'll see a ring around where the parachute jump area is. I'll deselect the sectional so you can see it easier, but it's this yellow dashed line here, PJA, ground to 15,000 feet. Well, look at that. We crossed right through that. So you may want to decide, do I want to cross through that? Or maybe get on flight following. They will tell you when jumpers are away. You'll know if there's an activity going on at that time. Just something else to point out.
Brian, when you go to the zoom into route again, can you slow down just a little bit? There's one person who wants to see exactly where you're tapping.
Absolutely. So right now I can only see a portion of the route. First, I'm going to go back, put my sectional back on here, go turn the aeronautical off. I'm going to click outside the menu to turn it off. So notice how I can make multiple selections there. We reviewed that last month, but you can actually make it so that the menu disappears after one selection. And that's in your settings. Click on the settings and it's on multiple selections, the bottom choice here. If I turn that off, I can't make multiple selections. Once I make one selection, the menu automatically goes away and I have to open it up again. Just a feature you may want to be aware of. So we're looking at a portion of our route. We wanted to see the zoom to route again. It's this button right here. I'm going to circle it so you can see it. Just because I like this new annotation tool, I'm going to right there. I'm not good with a mouse, so I'm going to tap on that. As soon as I tap it, it's just going to go to the appropriate zoom level and show us our route so far. Okay, so now we got this class Bravo to deal with. Okay, let's take a look at this. What altitude are we going to do this at? We've got airspace, we've got all kinds of things here. We got the parachute jumpers, we're around the lake. So far I'm good with this, but I see that I don't want to get too far over water. I don't want to be out here like over O'Hare. Maybe they'll want me over O'Hare, but I'm definitely going to want to get flight following for this, but I want to be prepared not to. So where do I go? Let's just say we're going to follow the shoreline and let's grab some points here. Oh, look at this. Here's a Class Charlie airspace for Chicago Midway. Look at the altitude definition of that. 2300 to T. Or is it T to 2300? What's the T? Again, you see something you don't know what it is. Zoom out, scroll around, see if you can find it. Oh, look, examples of Class C altitudes. T is ceiling is 2, but not including the floor of Class Bravo. And of course, in hundreds of feet. So the top is T. And if we zoom out, you can see it's from 1900 in this section, 1900 up to the Bravo, which is 3,600 feet.
Yep.
Yeah, right here. So this would be 1900 up to 3599. This section here would be 2300 up to, is it 3600 there as well? Yep.
Yeah, you're in the same shelf. Yep.
3599. So it looks like 2,500 feet would put me into that shelf. If I'm down at 2,000, I'm okay. And no odd or even plus 500 if I'm below 3. So let's go with the assumption that maybe we'll do this higher, but when we get to here, we're going to descend down to 2,000 feet. And let's just put the, I'm trying to look for a point here. Do we see one?
Just drop it. There's something close by there.
Yeah, I see these big stacks. I know that I'll see those. So I'm going to just put them right next to that and tap on the lat long, and it'll put it right there next to the stack. So what altitudes are we going to do this leg? We want to be, at this leg, we want to be 2,000 feet. So maybe we want to, from Gary, descend down to 2,000 feet. Now there's a class Delta whose top is 3,100 feet. So I would say, I'm going to zoom to route again. For this portion, we can climb right on up to, we're going west, that's even, so maybe 4,500 feet is good for this leg. So we can tap on our route and maybe do that at 4,500 feet. So let's go to the flight plan. And let's plan this at, instead of 12,000 across the lake, let's just do it. Here's our altitude selector. I'm going to select VFR because we're VFR. You notice the altitudes now have the 500s on them. If we tap IFR, they're making a liar. Well, they're even. You can see they're even here. Westerly or easterly. Westerly was even. Easterly is odd. So we're going westerly, VFR. What have we got? I think 4,500 is a good altitude. It also shows you the headwind or tailwind forecast for that time. So I'm going to go ahead and choose 4,500 feet that I want to plan this flight. So the whole thing is going to default to 4,500 feet. I'm looking at the clock. We're about coming up on maybe a break time. So I'll do that shortly. But we're going to do 4,500 feet unless we select otherwise. Well, I said over here, we want to be below the class Bravo, maybe 2,000 feet below the Charlie and the Bravo. And it looks like 2,000 feet will work all the way there. So maybe at Gary, we start a descent to 2,000 feet. So there's a couple ways to do that. To tell ForeFlight your profile here, and it'll adjust the winds for these altitudes. That's why you want to make it more accurate by telling it this. So if I tap on Gary, I get a menu on the side. If I tap on more, I get set altitude, speed, time. Well, altitude is what I'm concerned with. So I'm going to go ahead and tap that. And do I want to start at an altitude at Gary? Do I want to cross? Like, do I want to start climbing or descending at Gary or cross it at this altitude? I want to start down at Gary. I think that'll work pretty good as long as I get down by the time I get to the class Bravo. So we're going to start descending at Gary to be down to 2,000 feet. Well, you can change it from feet to meters, and you're going to do that too, I guarantee you. Right here, we're going to put in this field 2,000 feet. So at Gary, we will start a descent down to 2,000 feet. Speed, we'll just let it do the default speed, and then we'll tap out of there to see what we've done. We can go to the flight plan and look at the profile. And we can see that here at Gary, and if I tap on here, you can see a dot appear, and you can see it moving along my flight plan as I scroll left and right. But right here at Gary is where the green dot is. It's going to start a descent down to 2,000 feet. We can also on this profile look at airspace. And I know a lot of you are asking, hey, I don't see profile. What version does that come with? And I don't remember if it's pro or performance. Maybe Bob or Mike could look at that while we're doing this. But if I tap on airspace, now look at this. I can see I've gone over the Delta for Gary. I'm going to start down and now be below the Bravo and the Charlie. But I hit something here. Looks like I hit the smokestack. That's a first strike. We're going 325 feet below the smokestack. Well, we're really going to fly next to it, but it's our corridor.
Actually, that's Willits or Sears Tower is what you're going to hit.
Is that what it is? So that's downtown?
Yep.
Okay. I stand corrected. When I hit something and I die, I don't care what it was called. but I stand corrected. I would have hit something there, but we're going to be off to the side, and this is showing us the obstacles within the corridor. I'm going to turn the sectional off so you can see the corridor that's illuminated here to the side, left and right of my route. Again, that corridor width is determined by this settings. So right here, the settings tab on the profile, you can hit on corridor width, and right now it's 4 miles. So it's 2 miles to either side. If I change this on VFR, I don't mind going within a mile of the Sears Tower. If I click on 1 nautical mile, that corridor will get thinner, as you can see just happened. So we'll leave it like that. We'll go back, close this. Lo and behold, look, no hash marks, no strike. I didn't hit the tower because I'm more than a mile from it. So
and
what
that
this
profile view is in the Pro Plus or higher version.
Okay, so pro or performance. If you have basic, you won't have this. So I apologize for that. But there are features in all the different plans, and I just, like I said, we're going to mix them in, talk about all of them. So what's the orange thing here? I don't know what that is. Let's tap on it. Oh, that's a TFR at guaranteed rate field. The Blue Jays are playing on the 4th of July to the 5th of July, and it's from the surface to 3,000 feet. Well, my route's going to take me right through that, but I'm not doing it on the 4th of July, so I'm not worried about that.
That would be the White Sox. Yep.
South side.
Yep.
All right. So let's go back and look at our route. We're getting through the Bravo airspace here, and let's go back to zoom to route. We'll see the whole thing, see how we're doing here. We're getting
And
close.
Yeah. What? Now that we're into Chicago, why don't we leave everybody hanging for about 5 minutes and take a break here? I think.
I think that's a good idea. We've been going at it for what, an hour and a quarter. Let's take a break. Let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back. So if you need to get a drink, cup of coffee, whatever, I'll start the timer here. We'll be back in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back. So I've got this route shown, and a couple of things. If we're going to fly around Class Bravo airspace, I think it's important to have a few documents on board. First of all, if we're looking at how am I going to fly this, how did I choose the shoreline here? How do I know that's a good way? I'm not from there. I don't know that. So if I go to the layers here, there's a layer called, and I'll find it here, the VFR fly is what I'm looking for. And I will find.
You're hovering right next to it. Go to the left and you got it.
Oh, where it says US VFR flyway. Thank you. Tap on that and look at this. So here's the VFR flyway chart that you would normally see on the back of a terminal area chart. So if I zoom in here, there is a route here. So I'm putting these points in for VFR flight planning, but look at this, at or below 2000, it says to do here at the oil refinery, at or below 3500 out here. So we were at 4500. So maybe we want to come down and cross at 3500. I would follow this, but that's where everybody else is going to be. I might actually do 2,851 feet. I like to be where everybody else isn't. So everybody's going to Oshkosh might be thinking the same thing. So think about that. But at or below 2,000 as we go along the shoreline here, as you can see, that keeps a little bit of a healthy pad between the surface section here and the shoreline. Looks like it's about a couple miles. If you stay over the water, then you're below the Charlie, below the Bravo, and you can just follow this along. We have a waypoint, this Navy Pier. We can add that. And I think I added something that long right there. I don't have to do that. I'm just going to drag that point to the base of the flag and select Navy Pier. Same place, but it has a name Navy Pier now, and I know that I can report that as I'm going along here. As I scroll up, we have a temple right here. I'm going to go ahead, or Northwestern University. Looks like I'm closer to that. I'm just going to drag this right over to the base of the flag and let go, and select Northwestern University, and that adds it to our flight plan. As I scroll up here, looks like another visual point here, VPFTS. I'm going to go ahead and grab it, and we're going to go to that waypoint as well. It keeps us right on that fly chart, that fly route, VPFTS right there, added to my flight plan. Notice there's a line here with a hash on each side of it. What is that? Well, that's where the altitudes change, the recommended altitude. So up here, it's at or below 3,500 on this sector, this section of that route. Down here, below that line, they're recommending at or below 2,500. And anywhere there's an altitude change, such as right here, you'll see that line. Now it's at or below 2,000. So that's what that line is on this, is just denoting an altitude, recommended altitude change on here. So this gets us up. We can follow the shoreline up here. We got class Delta for Waukegan. We need to be above 3,200 feet. When we hit that, the Bravo shelf here is 3,600 feet. So getting back up to 33, 34, or 35 will work, or we can navigate around that. But now I want to know, where am I trying to go at this point? It's not going to be direct to Oshkosh. We have that other route. I'm going to take what I've done so far and just save this as a route, because now I want to play around and I want to save the Oshkosh route, the arrival route, in as a saved route also. I want to give the caveat that if you're looking at ForeFlight while you're flying this route into Oshkosh, you're going to hit an airplane. So this is for planning. This is just to learn how you're going to get there. The rest, when you get up here and fly this arrival route, I'm going to suggest you turn your iPad off, throw it in the back seat, and look out your window and memorize what you're going to do ahead of time, because you're going to be on the radio looking at a bunch of waypoints. So let's save this route that we have. Again, I'll zoom to route. There's the whole thing. I'm going to go to flight plan, open the flight plan drawer, tap on edit. This is where the editor is, and I've got these visual waypoints, my starting point. I ended Oshkosh, but I know we're going to have to put more in here. We'll do that later, but for now I just want to save what I've got here and go plan that route into that arrival into Oshkosh. So to save this, I'm just going to tap on the star to make it a favorite. As soon as it does that, it gives me an option. What do you want to call it? Well, I'll call it GRR to KOSH. KOSH. KGRR-KOSH, and I'll just put -1. That's the first one. I may do another one and call it -2. So I'll tap on save. It's a favorite now. You see the star turn to yellow. Well, where did it go? I don't know where it went. Yeah, I do. Up here we have this, I showed you earlier, the favorites or recent. If we tap on that, we can see, on recents, we can see everything that we've done. Every route we've done. If we screwed up, we can go back and restore it to any one of these recent routes. But I want to see the favorites because I just saved this as a favorite. The new ones go to the bottom. And here it is. Grand Rapids to Oshkosh -1. That's it. Well, I don't want it at the bottom. I want to put that on top. So how do I do that? I'm going to edit it. And I'm going to go down here and grab this grab bar that looks like 3 lines. And I'm just going to drag it up, hold it halfway up the top, and it'll scroll while I'm holding it. And as soon as it gets to the top, I have a lot of saved routes, you can let go. You can also obviously delete them from here by tapping on the minus ball. So then I'm going to tap on done. And here it is, Oshkosh 1. I happen to have already put in the interest of time, I'm going to select the Endeavor Bridge Fisk Oshkosh arrival. I did it earlier and I saved it. I don't think you need to watch me do it. You can do it yourself. But I'm going to tap on this route and select it. And it just put it in there. And here it is. This is the route from Endeavor Bridge to Puckaway Lake. And they're all visual waypoints. To Green Lake, to Ripon, to Fisk, and then I selected runway 9 into, for a straight in, into Oshkosh. You may be doing 27. So there's a procedure for 9 and a procedure for 27. You want to have the publication handy. You're not going to navigate via ForeFlight. You're going to be watching other airplanes. You're going to be following. If you don't know where these are, just turn on traffic and get in line. That's where the line is. It's like if you're looking for a good restaurant, go to the one with a very full parking lot. So anyway, if I go back to documents, there's some other documents I want to grab for this flight as well. But again, the Oshkosh one is ForeFlight. In the ForeFlight drive, scroll down and you'll see it, EAA AirVenture Oshkosh. Make sure you got a green check mark. So if we look at that, and I go to the bookmark I created earlier by tapping the magnifying glass to get this triple menu here, click on bookmarks. Here's Fisk arrival to Oshkosh. I tap on that. Well, here it is. And I can find the one with all the routes. Endeavor Bridge, VPENV, PLK, GRN. That takes you to Ripon. How do you get from Ripon on in? Well, there's another map for that here. The arrival procedure from Ripon. And this is for getting you to the area. And there's some more instructions, which, again, this isn't about flying to Oshkosh. We could spend a whole lesson on that. They've got pictures. There are videos online you can look at to see what it looks like as well. But so now I've got those in there. What other documents might I want if I'm flying around Bravo airspace and to another place I'm going? Well, I know I'm going to probably want a chart supplement. Have that downloaded in case I have no internet connection. And that's in the FAA drive in the folder called Chart Supplements, which contains the AFD. And then we can tap on which one do we need. I believe this one is North Central or East Central, I think, isn't it?
Here's North Central.
North Central. I can just open it from here and there's, nope.
Oh, I was wrong. It's East Central.
It's East Central. So you can see quickly by looking which one it is. Let's tap on East Central. Yeah, so there's Illinois and Wisconsin. That's the one we're going to need. Odds are if we fly to Grand Rapids, we already have that one anyway. This is the chart supplement. Within it is the airport facility directory that has all the airports like you're accustomed to seeing. Of course, we can see the one for each airport individually by going to the airports tab, and we can tap on, I didn't look at that. I don't have Grand Rapids as a favorite. So while we're here, let's do that. And I would delete the favorites you're not going to use for this trip. I just have the favorites for this trip. But let's search for Grand Rapids by typing KGRR, and we can tap on it, and we'll have to tap on the favorites button to make it a favorite. Now it's yellow. Where did it go? Well, get in line, bottom of my favorites. Again, you can edit that by tapping the edit button. grabbing the 3-bar drag bar, and let's bring that up to the top. So now I've got...
And while you're doing that, you don't have to put these in as a favorite. It's just more convenient.
It is convenient, but you can look and see green at the weather. These dots on the side will tell you what the weather is at these airports.
Right.
I got Fond du Lac and Appleton. I can get rid of the ones I don't need by swiping, just like this. So I can make this good for this trip. Anyway, you get the idea. So let's tap on Grand Rapids, and we can click on the Information tab, and in there is AFD, Airport Facility Directory entry for that airport is right here. There's one NOTAM for the airport. While we're looking at this, you can see it right here. I'll tap on the NOTAM. Grand Rapid runway 8 right and 256 is closed. Effective June 20 to July 31. That's going to affect us for flying out of there to Oshkosh. Is that the only runway they have? No, thankfully. It's not. But it's the long one. Is that the long one? 226 or 8 right. Yeah, that's the long one. So the long east-west runway is closed. That's something to think about if you can't use 5,000 feet and the wind is strong enough that you have to go east or west. Just talking about more of the things I'm seeing here. So let's go ahead and close this AFD entry back to the airport page. And we'll go over this in some more detail later. But while I'm here, I'm going to tap on Oshkosh. And if you have the performance, I think it's performance plan, you can click on 3D view and see what it looks like. And then pan around. And it's actually showing live traffic right now. But you can select which runway. If you're going to land on 9, you can tap on the 9 up here. And that's what the final looks like. And you can tip it and see the differences. Anyway, I'll close that. What else might we want to have? We had the chart supplement. Let's go back to documents. We might want to have the VFR chart. So that's an FAA. And that's with the fly chart. You can grab that here in addition to have it load on the map like we did. So here are all the fly charts. And here's the Chicago fly. Make sure I got a green mark next to that. And of course, I could open it and look at it in documents. Close that. And let's see. The Class Bravo, the terminal area chart, or the Class Bravo chart, if you wanted, you can get that from here. I'm not quite sure what, as we go to FAA, I'm not sure what we can get from that, but the Class Bravo graphics, we can tap that. And we can look at the Chicago Class B in case we want to see this picture of it, but I just don't know what this does for us. But you can get it if you want it. Close that. We'll go back to the map, and you can see I've got this route in here. You can also see that I've put some speeds in here. Remember, the information guide told us that we wanted to be at 90 knots and 1,800 feet. Well, you can put those in here. How do I do that? Well, let's find Ripon here. I didn't put a speed on that one, so I'm going to tap on it. Roll down to set altitude, speed, time. Remember, we set an altitude before, but this time we don't want to start descending at that point. We actually want to cross it at a certain altitude. And we're going to put in 1,800 feet. That's where we want to cross it. Also, the information guide, the notice said we want to be at 90 knots. So I'm going to put 90 in here. Why does this matter? Well, it's going to give you a more accurate time and fuel burn. And when we get closer to the time of departure, those will be very accurate, including the current winds. If I close that, you'll see we got Ripon at 90 knots, 1,800 feet. We can see that this is a 20-minute flight from here all the way in at that speed. But look at this, I have 1 knot at Endeavor Bridge. That's a problem. So I can fix that by clicking on the fix, set speed, altitude, time, and change the speed here to 90 knots. And we don't want to start descending there. We want to cross it at that altitude. I'll close that. And we've got 90 knots and 1,800 feet on all of these. I've also put my departure in here. It says 9 a.m. Central Daylight Time is my departure time, my estimated time of departure. But on this one, we only have the flight plan from here to here, but I do have Sunday, July 23 at 9 a.m. So it's using a database of typical winds to calculate what this is going to be. When it gets closer to that date, within, you know, a TAF range, it's going to use the forecast winds. And then, of course, when you're flying, it's going to use the actual winds to calculate these numbers. We do have one warning. Let's see what it is. Estimated time of departure wind forecast is unavailable using zero wind and isotemp. So it's using standard temperature and zero wind to calculate these numbers right now. That's okay. It's going to be when closer to the day of departure. In fact, if we just change this to departing right now, you'll see that that warning goes away and we get real-time numbers and we have a 4-knot tailwind. Also, we need to pack for this, but this isn't the full flight plan, but that's what this little red ball here next to the suitcase means, is that we're going to pack for this flight. That's going to download a lot of packed materials that we talked about earlier. How do you delete those after the flight? That's what we were talking about, is these packed items. If I tap on it, you'll see it wants to download some comments I don't have, the current weather, airments and SIGMETs, and latest NOTAMs. It's going to go grab all those if I tap on. In fact, I'll just do it. You can see we're going to get it for that route right now. And we're going to get all that. We're all packed up. I'll close it, and you can see the red ball went away. This route that I've saved, I've made some modifications, so it's not a favorite anymore. I'm going to go ahead and tap on favorite here, the favorites button, Endeavor Bridge, Fisk, Oshkosh, and save it. It's going to be the same name as the other one, so it's going to warn me, hey, that's a duplicate route name. Do you want to use that? It's already in use. Yes, I want to use it because I'm going to delete the other one. So I tap yes. And if I go to my favorite routes, and then favorites, the new one's at the bottom. This is the one that I just had, the Endeavor Bridge, Fisk, Osh. So I'm going to go ahead and swipe it left and tap on delete. I'm going to go to the bottom. I'll see the new one that I just saved, Endeavor Bridge, Fisk, Osh. I'll tap on that. There it is, but I wanted to move it up. That's what my goal was. So I'm going to go back to the list, go to the bottom, tap the edit button, which is right here. Grab by these 3 bars at the bottom. And I'm repeating this because you might have missed it earlier, so it's repetitive, so bear with me. If you didn't see it before, you get to see it again. If you did, then bear with us. Now it's at the top of my route. So I'll click done, and there it is. So I want to get to Endeavor Bridge. How can I mix these 2 flight plans together? Because here's the first one to Oshkosh, then there's this one. I don't know of a way to do that, but I can reselect this route, and I can go back here and find the Endeavor Bridge, which I happen to know is out here. West, there's Puckaway Lake, here's Endeavor Bridge. So I'm just going to add that to the route, and I can do the whole waypoints Endeavor Bridge. But what I'm doing here is I want to see, that's where I want to end up. So how do I want to come out from this airspace? This actually looks better because it keeps us away from Waukegan. And we need to just determine where to climb. That's where we're going to do that pilot stuff. There's also a note in the thing, in the notice, that Milwaukee approach will not give flight following north of the airport, only south. So that's something to keep in mind. But now we can go via airports. We can maybe go make a fuel stop somewhere, because if we just did this entire flight and we know we're going to do, when we get to Endeavor Bridge, all we have to do is go to our favorite routes, activate this flight that we saved, and then we can go tap on Endeavor Bridge and just go direct to. Now, it did my present position here at my home as I sit, direct to Endeavor Bridge. But while you're flying and you leave the Chicago airspace, you can just hit direct to and then load that up as you need it. What was I going to say? So we've got that in there like that. There's the notice. We've got the speeds. At this point, once you get there, you hear the ATIS. It tells you which fix they're going to start from. And let's say you're leaving the Chicago area and it says we're going to start at Green Lake on the ATIS. Well, then just tap on Green Lake here, or tap on Green Lake here, and just hit direct to. And now we're going to go direct Green Lake and start it from that point. But once we get to this part where all the airplanes are, I highly encourage you turn this off and put it back and fly VFR. You might want to plan a VFR fuel stop too, because when you get there, at any time, somebody invariably lands gear up, because there's those who have and those who will, and we mix everybody out there Somebody's going to land gear up on that runway and they close it and they're going to say, all right, everybody, we're circling over Green Lake. And what's going to happen there is all the aircraft, I don't remember which way it is. I think it's left turns, and they're just going to be doing this. And you're going to be boring holes in the sky, and you're going to think, wish I had some more fuel. So be sure to plan alternate contingency plans, have the airports, be familiar with where you might go for fuel at that point. There's a couple options here. But I'm running out of time. I'd rather get to see if we have any questions, see where we're at on that, or if you guys have anything you want to throw in here.
Brian, yeah, can I bring up something that just came up in our open questions?
Sure.
Because I've flown to the show a bunch of times. Unfortunately, these days I drive because we need my car up there at the show.
Yeah.
But the a gentleman asked, we should use ForeFlight for planning purposes and memorize the route and throw the EFB in the back of the plane. And that's a bit of hyperbole. The real issue is this wasn't a fly to Oshkosh session. This was using Oshkosh as a heck of an example to get in.
Sure.
Think about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
The real issue, and this is just from somebody who's flown it a lot, and I think Michael would agree with me, is yes, you really need your head outside on this. And the route isn't that hard to memorize. The waypoints are really prominent. Unless you're coming in on a marginal, hazy day, you're going to see all these points. The last bit of it, you literally follow the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad tracks into the airport.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, and I happen to know the name because I used to work for a major railroad. But anyway, from Ripon to Fisk and so on, it's not very difficult. You are flying with a bunch of people. I hate to say it, there are a bunch of people who fly 4 times a year to stay current when you're coming into the show.
Right.
That's what I teach my students. You need to keep your head up and outside.
Agreed.
If you want to have ForeFlight up in front of you, mount your iPad in such a way you're not swinging your head down. That 1.5 eyes are outside. Okay.
I agree.
That's all I can tell you. It's not a terribly difficult route.
I agree. And like I said, follow all the other airplanes. You want to be seeing them anyway, and that's where they're going. But I guess if the leader's going the wrong way and everybody chooses that philosophy, then they may all go the wrong way. But yeah, like you said, the visual points are very easy to see. These lakes, and you're basically following along. Let me load that up again. The southeast side of each lake to the southeast side of that lake, and then fly along the shoreline of that lake, along this lake, and you see a big city of Ripon. Then it's the railroad to the next town, which is Fisk. And then you're going to fly the pattern that, depending on it's 9 or 27, and that's published in the notice as well. Because it's getting late, I think we should move to the handouts. I think people are staying like they're too tired, but they don't want to miss the freebies. Should we jump to that real quick? We'll take turns choosing who's going to get what. Let's see. I'm going to switch this over to here. We'll get a 1-year NAFI membership that will result in a lot of good educational content like this. We have a winner for that for somebody who's here. You get Mentor Magazine, our professional development course if you're an instructor. You don't have to be an instructor to be a member of NAFI either. So,
yes, Cameron LaFont is the winner of that.
Awesome, Cameron! Congratulations. We'll reach out to you, and I'm guessing you'll send me that name, Mike.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's the 1-year NAFI membership. What do we got next? We have the that's just my invoice. I showed that last month with my NAFI discount, $150 off at more than paid for it. 2 Gold Seal lifetime ground schools. One, they've got private or instrument. We're going to give away 2, and you can choose either private or instrument, and it's the lifetime ground school for that as well. So I'll let you pick a name for that.
And I've got Charles Black is the winner for that one.
All right, congratulations. And you can, even if you're an instructor, you can still get it. You can use it. Instructors get it free, and you can monitor your students through Gold Seal. I did that with my own son. He just finished his instrument ground school, and I could follow along on his progress on that. Or you can pass it on. Who's the next winner for the 2nd Gold Seal lifetime ground school?
The 2nd Gold Seal lifetime ground school winner is Mark Razone, I believe. Razone or Razzoni?
All right, very cool. Congratulations, Mark. We'll send you, what we're going to do is we'll reach out to you. We'll send you an email with the email address that you joined this with. So watch that, and we're going to give you a code to put in. So the two of you winners for the Gold Seal Lifetime Ground School, you'll receive an email with a secret code to put in the box, and that will go ahead and act like you're choosing the school you want, private or instrument. Go to the checkout, and when you go to checkout, you'll get a code that'll bring the balance to 0. So congratulations on winning that. And now finally, we got the Garmin D2 Air X10 smartwatch. I have the box right here, and I'm going to choose a name for that. I drew that a little bit earlier. Heidi Ginter is going to be the winner of that one. Congratulations on winning the Garmin D2 Air X10 smartwatch. That we'll reach out to you and get your address, and we'll send this in the mail to you. So congratulations on that. Now we're going to see everybody dropping like flies. But this, again, everything that you need to know is on ForeFlight Workshops. It's on that website. If we give a new way of presenting this, I'm going to put it on there. It might not be through Zoom. Like I said, my Zoom account is up for renewal. It's a lot of money. Just go look and price how much it costs to have a 3,000 person Zoom account. You'll see what I'm talking about. So we may be switching up to something different. Keep an eye on this website, or you can get the links to watch and the instructions to watch these and the previous ones recordings as well. So everything's on there. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Finish this and I'll do the shameless thing.
Okay, there's a shameless plug. Again, Bob and I think Mike's going to be there too. You going to the summit? Yeah. So our summit in Lakeland, Florida, October 24 through 26. There's going to be a lot of networking, tips, techniques, seminars, presentations, exhibits. It's kind of like a little mini Oshkosh with a lot of education in Lakeland, Florida in October. So please come to that if you want to come see us. Feel free. Did you have something else, Bob?
Yeah, but it's shameless plug. If you're going to Oshkosh, and we hope to see all of you there.
Yeah, let's plug it.
Plug it. Please feel free to come by the NAFI tent. It's not just for flight instructors. We've got a whole bunch. How many web seminars are we going to have?
I believe we have 35 or 36. Yeah.
35, 36.
Yeah, you're doing one. I'm doing. Mike's going to give one. Which one are you doing, Mike?
I'm going to do one on, I call it the aerodynamic tricks of the Jedi Masters. So a little walk around the airport with a camera and interesting things on airplanes and how they make airplanes fly better.
Awesome. I'll be teaching how to fly the airport traffic pattern and some nuances and how to teach it as well. And Bob, you're doing some as well, right? I like your topic.
Mine's going to be don't be that instructor.
Don't.
I better watch that one, I guess.
Yeah, I've been that instructor. So I tell you what, I'm going to give a salutation, and then we're going to stay here. But I want to end the recording. So thank you all for joining us. We truly appreciate.
I do have one more thing before you end it, though.
Yeah, what do you got?
Actually, I wanted to share the screen here for a moment, if you can.
Yeah.
What do with it?
Go ahead.
Okay. What I wanted to show you was if you are planning on flying to ForeFlight. There's a company called MindStar.
Yes.
That is doing a program called SimVenture. And if you have any kind of a flight simulator, go check out this webpage here, pilotedge.net pages SimVenture. And this is an opportunity for you to fly your simulator into Oshkosh with the actual air traffic controllers. By NACA air traffic controllers, the ones who will be working at Oshkosh are going to be working this. And you can actually fly the Oshkosh arrival all the way from out there past Fisk or past Ripon. I don't know how far out. You can fly it all the way in. And so if you check out this website here, it's going to have the instructions on how to sign up for this. You do need to have an account. They do a 14-day or a 30-day free trial, and that is enough to get you into the program. You'll need to download a scenery package for your simulator. And then here's the schedule for when they're going to be doing this. It's going to be toward the end of next week for several days. So if you've never done it before, I highly recommend this. And even if you have done it before, there are new procedures in place this year. It's a great way to practice and hone your skills.
Yeah, and I see some people. I think it's a great program. Pilot Edge is awesome. You can use that year round, but they're doing this SimVenture thing, which is really cool. I highly recommend SimVenture as well.
And my closeout on flying to Oshkosh, and this is for everybody here who's planning to do it. Number one, you don't have to be there on time. If there's weather, if there's a problem, if you have an issue, I'd rather you miss the show and we can see you next year if it gets that bad, than you try to push something and don't arrive at all, ever, anywhere.
Yeah, it's a week long. You got a week long destination
Please
ETA.
be careful. And two, I've been here, done that. Mike mentioned it. Brian's mentioned it. I'll say it. I come up from when I do fly up, I come up from St. Louis and I stop and I make sure I am fat on fuel when I get up there. Don't plan to arrive there with 30 minutes reserve. I'm telling you right now, I have been told, I've been out there and I've been told, okay, everybody, pick a silo, start circling. And that's a fun, and that was a 45-minute exercise one time.
Sound advice.
Yeah, I will add to that. Don't make it the end of your 4-hour flight to get there. Plan on stopping somewhere an hour or so short, reload on fuel, empty your bladders, get a little something to eat, give yourself a little break so you're well rested for this flight on the way in.
And socialize with all the other people stopping there for fuel, because you're going to see them.
Because they're going to be your new best friends on the way up. And one more thing, if there's more than one person in the airplane, everybody's eyes are up and looking. There's a lot of airplanes out there.
Yeah.
Be safe coming in. Want to see everybody there.
Sound advice. I've flown in, I've driven in, I've been there, done that. I'm happy driving in now. Flying is fun. Don't get me wrong. It's really cool. It's an experience that everybody should do, but be sure you're familiar with that notice. They've otherwise known as the NOTAM. Follow it, be on speed, be on altitude, follow it as close as you possibly can, and know everything that's in it and have it handy, because you're going to have to refer to it while you're flying.
And practice your spot landings. You're going to get a target spot you need to hit that spot within a couple 100 feet. So now's a great time to be practicing that. And practice it when you're fully loaded and heavy, not when you're the only person in the airplane.
Yep.
Practice flying it when you're loaded, as you will be for the flight.
Exactly.
And practice your soft field taxing techniques, because they're going to be taxing on. I taxied on grass 2 miles once.
Especially if it's a slosh gosh event.
Oh man, I don't want to relive Splash Gosh. I did that once. That was
a
enough.
lot of rain.
Yeah. Okay. We beat this one to death.
Yeah, very good. We're going to hang out and talk. If you got any questions, we can answer them. I mean, for those of you who want to bail, the official part's over. You're going to automatically get your wings credit. Thanks for coming. We do appreciate it. We'll do it again next month, but keep an eye on ForeFlightWorkshops.com website, because there may be some new instructions and a new exciting way that we're going to be putting this on.